To lose your voice?
A little bit, yeah.
Why?
Allergies, I guess.
So it was a joke. I try really hard.
Yeah.
To lose. Okay.
No, I try really hard to like not lose my voice.
Okay, I got you. I'm understanding you now, but it. I was going. Why would you make your life so difficult on purpose? Is there something you're trying to get out of? Is there a Thanksgiving program solo that you're trying to get out of? Is that why you're trying to lose your voice? No.
No.
She doesn't want to go up on those high notes.
Oh no. Not gonna happen.
Me either. I mean, I'm not sit in the alto section on purpose. Okay. Well, it's 9 o'clock, right?
See.
Well, here we go.
This is sad.
So I'm missing
Robert, Alden,
9, 8 or 9 people.
Where's Colin? He's coming. I think he
There
went
he
in the
is.
bathroom.
Where
Did
did
he
he
get
go?
lost? I guess so.
How?
It's
not that big a place. But we are in sort of our own wing here.
He made me
Well, he knows where to go.
I know he does.
I guess.
There he is, the man of the hour. What's up, buddy? You doing all right? Seen you for like a year. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's not been a year.
Wow.
Hey, come on in. We're trying something new, Leela. You like it?
Sure.
No? There was something else. Somebody else did this. And I'm just falling into line. And not moving all the chairs. Are you okay? Sit. Are you mad at somebody? You're sort of glowering.
I love stuff on my phone. Put it down. Forgot my password.
Sorry to hear that. Welcome. I'm glad to see you guys.
You still have that password?
All right. We're gonna not discuss passwords right now and being locked out of our phone. All right. Still missing some people. Maybe they'll come in. Pronouns. Pronouns are all the rage these days. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks. Pronouns. Subjective. Objective. What is the difference? What's the difference? Okay, first, tell me, what are subjective pronouns? What are they?
The subject.
Yes, give me the pronouns. Sing the jingle in your head. You remember it?
You have to start it.
Billy is he.
Tommy, she, Billy, Tommy did everything.
Ah, he, she, you, I, we, it. Right? Is that it? Yeah. Objective. Him, her, them, you, me, us, it. Okay. You will notice that you and it show up in both categories, right? You and it are both subjective and objective. They can be used either way. You do not start a sentence with an objective pronoun. This cannot be the subject of your sentence.
Unless you really read that.
No. No, we're not doing that. We're not being that redneck, okay? You may not start a sentence with an objective pronoun as the subject of your sentence. Really, you wouldn't start a sentence with this at all. I will say, Her can also be used as what? Anybody know? An adjective. Yeah. So there would be a difference in saying her is smart. No. No.
In contrast.
Right. That's different than saying her shirt is smart. Her shirt is smart. Okay, that's silly. But you see what I mean. This, her, is standing in the place of the subject. This sentence is about her. This sentence is not about her. What is this sentence about? Her shirt. This is the subject. Okay, so these cannot start your sentence as the subject. Welcome. These cannot start your sentence as the subject. You have to use a subjective pronoun. Y'all know this, right? We've talked about this before. Okay, so this is going to be important later. It's going to be important because I'm going to tell we're going to be building sentences, and we're going to come to a he or a she or a they that's sort of in the middle of the sentence. But I'm going to ask you why that matters and how it's being used and how you have to punctuate it based on the fact that it is a subjective pronoun. Okay? Hang on to it. Subjective and objective pronouns. If you don't just know these automatically, familiarize yourself. Okay? You should. You should already know that you don't start a sentence with me. You don't say me is hungry, whatever. You don't do it. It's an objective pronoun, right? Unless you're 3. And I don't think 3-year-olds would even do that. All right. Subject and objective.
Oh, that's true. I'm using correct French. Yeah, it's in the wrong one.
Okay. Still on pronouns. Let's. Intensive, emphatic. Okay. Sometimes, this is when you add self to a pronoun. And I'm going to give you a couple of ways that you got intensive and emphatic, and then there's reflexive, and I'm going to tell you the difference, okay? So intensive and emphatic, you're, like if I say the man himself was in the room. Okay? The man himself was in the room. Now, let me give you that way. Reflexive. Okay. The man set himself a goal. Okay. So in reflexive, with the reflexive pronouns, in both of these, you're adding self. Okay. You're adding self to the pronoun. In a reflexive, with a reflexive pronoun, who's doing the action here? The man. Who's receiving the action? The same person, right? So when your subject noun is doing the action but is also receiving the action, it's reflexive. Does that make sense? Yeah, I see some heads nodding. Okay, so the man is the one who's doing the action, but he's also the one receiving the action. In other languages, you have a lot of, some of y'all are taking Spanish, but y'all have not gotten to reflexive stuff yet, right? Have you gotten to reflexive? Okay. I hate reflexive stuff. I hate trying to figure that out in Spanish because there's reflexive everything. There's reflexive everything. So we would say in English, we would say, I took a shower. In Spanish, the translation would be, no, I'm not going to. I showered myself. So it would be reflexive. anyway, we don't do that in English, but it's the same idea. The person doing the action and the person receiving the action is the same person. So then it's a reflexive pronoun. Y'all get that? Okay, so up here, we don't have any action. I mean, he's not doing anything. He was just there. But this is an intensifier. So I don't really know why you're grinning at me like that. Sometimes it throws me off. All right. It's just an emphatic statement. So if you're just intensifying the man himself. I myself was there. Instead of saying just I was there, it's I myself. I saw it with my eyes. I myself was there. You're intensifying, emphasizing yourself in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you making fun of me?
No, I thought that there were different things, and so I was waiting for you to get to the emphatic part, and so I put that this was intensive.
Oh, you thought
And
these were
so-
different?
Yeah, and so I was like,
I'm sorry.
and then I realized that I'm just mentally ill.
You are not mentally
So
ill.
nothing.
I didn't mean to trick you. I'm sorry. I might trick you.
Easy to do.
I might trick you sometimes on purpose, but this wasn't it. Okay, I'm moving on from this unless y'all have any questions. No hands are up. Okay. I'm gonna erase this. All right, now that we've talked about pronouns and recognizing the subject. All right, so last week in my video, I really don't like doing it that way. I'd rather be here. But in the video I sent, I talked a little bit about phrases, and I talked a lot about phrases and clauses. So I'm going to give you a couple of sentences that I just found in a book that I'm reading about the Roosevelts.
Oh.
It's interesting. All right, so the only friend. We're not taking the whole sentence apart this time. So the only friend who penetrated their tight circle she became something like a member of the family. Okay. Y'all good?
Yeah.
Okay. The only friend who penetrated their tight circle, she became something like a member of the family. All right, so thinking back, last week's video, I talked about phrases and clauses. Where is the independent clause?
The last one. She became something like a member of the family.
This is the main clause, yes. Because what is this?
Subject pronoun.
It's a subjective pronoun. When you see a subjective pronoun, it's the subject of something. It might be the subject of a dependent clause, that's possible. But when you see she, this is a subjective pronoun. You have to check out why is this here? What is it the subject of? All right. Okay, so this is the main clause. This is the more important one. This is the leading idea here, okay? But what about this up here? What is this? What kind of phrase is that? It's one of the ones I talked about last week. Well, what is this? This word by itself?
Friend.
Yes. What part of speech is friend?
Noun.
It's a noun. So it's a noun phrase.
Oh, wow.
It's a noun phrase.
That's crazy.
Whoa! It's a noun phrase. Okay. It's a noun phrase. And then you have who penetrated their tight circle. What is that? You have a subject and you have a verb. Subject.
Dependent.
It's a dependent clause. It's a dependent clause. Well, actually, I think you would, this is, yeah, it's a dependent clause. This is actually a pronoun. This is used as pronoun. That might have thrown you a little bit. I don't know. That's used as a pronoun. Okay, who penetrated their tight clause? You have, this is the subject of this dependent clause, and then you have the verb. Okay, so this becomes something that you have to punctuate. You have to punctuate it correctly. And if this is your main clause and the dependent is coming first, you have to know to put the comma there. Does that make sense? You're going to see this. You might not want to write like this right now. You might not want to put these kind of things together right now, but this is what writers do all the time. And as you grow as a writer, you're going to need to vary your sentence lengths and your sentence structures, the patterns. You're going to need to grow in what you can do and how you can arrange your sentences. And so we're gonna start some today. We're gonna start some different building exercises. Okay, and it's not going to be something that takes you forever. It's not going to take you a long time to do it. But I just want you to see how sentences are put together and how they work. Right? Okay, and I want to do one more. Just because. All right, so this was actually I think this was the next sentence in the book. And I can't remember who wrote it. It was two men. When young. The children were tutored by, and the rest of the sentence really doesn't matter because that's not what I'm getting to. They were tutored by somebody, okay? This is, the children were tutored by person. They were tutored by somebody. But I don't want to, that's not what I'm going for right now. What is this? What is this over here? When young. It's a little bit of a trick. I just want to see what you do. What do you say about this? Stare blankly at me. Okay. Do you want me to just tell you? All right. So when young, the children were tutored by a person. Who is young? The children. Okay, so what you've got here is you've got a dependent clause, but it's got some information that's just understood. They've left it out. When they were young, the children were tutored by a person. Okay, so what they've done here is they've taken a dependent clause and they've just removed, for stylistic reasons probably, they've just taken those two words out, and you understand that they're talking about these children, right? You understand that that's who they're talking about, even though they left some of the words out. This is standing in the place of a dependent clause. When they were young, the children. Does that make sense to you? They're just leaving some words out. Okay. I just wanted to show you that because you're going to run into stuff like that. And it is okay for you to do that. But when you do something like that, you have to punctuate it as if it's a dependent clause. Yeah? Okay. All right. I am probably going to run tight on the time. Okay.
We get quizzes stuff.
Sentence building. I am, now that you say that, it's not exactly a quiz. No, it's not exactly a quiz. But I am going to give you some sample. She didn't know. I already have it with me. I'm going to give you some sample poems, and we're going to talk about going from colonial writing to all the way to postmodern. And I've got some examples of poems here, and I'm going to see if you, and I didn't give you the names of who wrote them, and I didn't give you the time period, and I just want to, we'll get to that in a minute. I want to see if you can identify those. All right. I just want to talk about this. I'm going to have you do I've got 3 places here. The first model sentence. Everybody got one? Everybody got a page? He stopped, tapping the dirt off his shoes, and wiped his hands on his jeans. Okay, that's your model sentence. And I did take, I don't know if I took all of these sentences, but I did take some of these sentences out of a book that I'm using, so I definitely want to give credit where it's due. Okay, the writer of this was Don Kilgallen. But a lot of these sentences, I used his book, but then I made my own sentences out of it. And some of them I actually did use his, but you'll see it. Okay, the first model, he stopped, tapping the dirt off his shoes, and wiped his hands on his jeans. Okay, so if you are going to write, well, I'm not going to make you write your own sentence out of that one, but I have some pieces down below it. You know, I talked to you before about English being built with phrases, with just segments of meaning. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. You have the model sentence, and then below that you have three segments. Okay, and they're not in order, but what I want you to do is tell me what order to put these in to match the model above it. How do I do that?
She smiled, remembering the fun of the morning, and returned to folding her clothes.
Yes. She smiled, remembering the fun of the morning, and returned to folding her clothes. So if you look at the model at the top, you have he stopped. Okay, you have subject pronoun, and then you have verb. And so you go down to the next part, and you have she smiled, subject pronoun and verb. So those match. Okay, and then you have tapping the dirt off his shoes, which is, I didn't talk about this. This is a participle phrase, right? We'll talk about that later. But it's a participle phrase. It's an ing verb phrase, and it's being used as an adjective here. Tapping the dirt off his shoes. Go down to the next one and find the matching phrase. Remembering the fun of the morning. And wiped his hands on his jeans. And returned to folding her clothes. Y'all see what I'm doing there? Just matching them up. Okay. So what I want you to do is the second one and the last one, do those as part of your homework. Just email them to me. Just do it as part of your grammar stuff, okay? There's somebody out there? No? Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, you can email me if you have questions. I actually do a lot more talking to you guys over email than I do in class. Nobody really wants to talk too much in class, except Leela talks to me. And I appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, now let's think back about poetry. Let's think back about what we've read. What kind of things would you expect to hear and read during the colonial time period? What did you expect to hear? What did you expect to read? Depressing?
Depressing.
Really? In the colonial time period? Okay. Colonial, the first one we talked about. This was, I gave you, okay. Puritan culture is saturated with Christianity. Okay. I gave you a poem by Anne Bradstreet where her house had burned down. Remember that? Her house had burned down, but she was still saying, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away, bless the name of the Lord. Okay. In colonialism, you have a saturation of the culture in Christianity. You just see it everywhere. It comes out in everything. The next one that we talked about was neoclassicism or the Enlightenment. What was that about?
There's there's a lot of money. No.
What?
Man does not need God.
Man doesn't really need God. What does man need? Reason. We need to return to classic thought. We need to return to the ways that the Greeks and the Romans believed and taught, and the way that they behaved, and the way that they feel. You're shaking your head, Jada. You think that would be a bad thing? Okay. So anyway, but that's what you're looking at with the Enlightenment. Man can rise to his best self. We can make the world better. We can, I mean, probably something like the Tower of Babel. You know, they probably had an enlightenment. That's probably what they did, and they were bound and determined that they were going to take themselves up as high as they could go. Anyway, neoclassicism, the Enlightenment. Next was Romanticism. What did we see in Romanticism? Everybody walked around with warm, fuzzy feelings all the time. What else?
The feelings were the goal of life.
Feelings were the goal. Yeah. Nature. Nature could teach you everything you needed, right? What was next? Realism. Realism. What did we get with realism?
Men are not very swag money.
Men are not very swag money.
Yes.
Real
monkeys
are
like
animals. Not really.
Realism is all about being realistic and getting the true details. We're not as concerned about imagination at that point. You have there's a lot of I don't want to go into all that. Anyway, there's a lot of photography that is just very detailed, and it's showing people in the lower classes and the kind of really hard lives that they have to live, and there's nothing romantic about it. There's no Disneyfication of any of that. It's just, you want to know what real life is? Here's real life. That's what they're giving you. We want to know the real details and nothing extra. Okay, what was after realism? Modernism?
Yeah.
What is modernism? Y'all can just tell me modernism and postmodernism together, because I kind of think it's just more of the same. Modernism? This is what this was just this last video.
Yeah.
Modernism.
No, we're talking about postmodernism.
Yeah, modernism and postmodernism.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of one that it's hard to separate. It's hard to find for me, it might not be hard for somebody else, but it was kind of hard to find the distinction where there's this really hard line between one and the other. That was hard for me to find. It was not that hard when you're talking about going from the Age of Enlightenment to Romanticism. That was an easier divide. And then from Romanticism to Realism was an easier divide for me. But when you're talking about going from modernism to postmodernism, it was a little bit harder for me to see a switch. It was just, I don't know, it feels more like a building of that. But modernism is, you're basically dropping off all tradition and all whatever the religious baggage that you used to have. You're leaving that behind. And then postmodernism is a complete rejection of any absolute truth. And it tends to go into random poetry, and sometimes really dark. And anyway, I'm going to hand you these. I didn't give you the time periods, and I didn't give you any of the names of the authors. And I just want to see if you can identify those. We'll see how you do. They're not actually in any order.
I'm going to talk you through it, okay? Wait, what are we doing? I'm confused.
Okay. The first one. Colonial.
She said the Indian burying ground. She said that's colonial because it's Indian.
I'm not just looking at the titles. Okay,
I
but
did.
titles can be helpful. The first one,
Naturalism.
Song of Nature poem. Which would this, which category would it fit in? Mine are the night and morning, the pits of air, the gulf of space, the sportive sun, the gibbous moon, the innumerable days. What is he writing about? Nature. So where would that fit?
What
Romanticism.
Wait, I told you. That's the one where the dog dies, right? And he steps in water. No, the dog doesn't die. Is that the same?
What are you talking about? The one where the dog dies? What are you talking? Is this a joke?
The guy where he freezes to death.
He steps in water, but the water's frozen.
That's
and
not
it's hot.
romanticism.
But
Jeff.
that's okay, never mind.
It's not romanticism. The dog doesn't die in that one.
Yeah.
That's Jack London. Do y'all remember what she's talking about?
No,
Yeah, the nature will kill
I
you.
think he should have lived because there's no way that water was not frozen. How did he step in
I don't
water?
know, Leela. I don't know. I just gave you the story as he wrote it. Okay, so we got this one. Romanticism. Next, to my dear and loving husband. Look at the language.
Ever two were one, then shall we.
Where do we think this one fits? Say it out loud. Colonial. Colonial. This is actually another Anne Bradstreet poem. Next, all life in a life. All life in a life. He had a rather large family of girls and boys. He was born and bred in a barn or kind of cattle shed. But he was a hardy youngster and grew to be a boy with eyes that sparkled like a rod of white hot iron in the blacksmith shop. His face was ruddy like a rising moon, and his hair was black as a sheep's wool that is black. Okay, I'm not going to finish the poem. Any ideas about where this one fits?
That's my favorite line, and his hair was black as a sheep's wool. That is black.
Okay.
His hair was black as a cloud. That was black.
Where does this one fit?
Enlightenment is about reason.
Come on, guys, give me a guess. Say it, Sarah Catherine.
Realism.
Yes, realism. I know you know it. Say it out. Okay. The Indian burying ground. This is the one that will. No. It is. It's written during the Enlightenment. Any lines that would give you a clue about why this would be part of the Enlightenment?
Points out the soul's eternal sleep.
That's still my old opinion. Keep
The
Yeah.
eggs.
Yeah.
Eggs
And not the old ideas gone. He's throwing back to the old things that we've got to keep. Y'all see that? So that is Enlightenment. Okay, now the last ones. These are doozies.
Why is one of the roots fucked up?
It was something that it was a word that I
It was
couldn't
a
bring
word
into
nerd.
co-op. It was a wordy dird. Yes.
Does it rhyme with something else?
Nope. It doesn't rhyme with anything else. Thank you. Thank you for checking that out for me. I appreciate it. Okay. One of these is modernism, one is postmodernism.
Okay.
What do we think?
I think that the top one is modernism.
Okay. Why do you think that?
I'm wrong.
No, you're actually right.
Oh, really?
You're right. But why? Why do you think this? Why do we think the top one is modernism and the second one is?
Well, I feel this. Well, I just like figured because the bottom one feels more like postmodernism. So
Going off what she said, I think the reason why the second one is postmodernism is because of it's a lot more harsh, a lot more
Bleak.
words.
Bleak. Yeah.
bleak,
Dark.
like
Yeah.
dark,
Hopeless.
and the top one's way more like lighter.
It's some lighter, but I think the top one is Of Mere Being, and it's by Wallace Stevens, and he actually had a day job that was not poetry. Like he was
How do
was
I
some
make
kind-
money off of poetry?
you don't, you die and people buy it later.
That's sad. Like
um
Robert Frost did.
yeah, there
Why
are
do you
people who
show up and you're like, look at my cool book of rhyming things, and people are like, oh, I bought that. I don't get it.
Okay. Well, I think there's probably more to it than that. There's probably more to it than
Same
that.
with philosophy. How are you like, I think, therefore I am? People are like, another banger, man. I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know how they got started. I don't know how they got started. I really probably should do some more research into that and find out about some of these poets' lives. And I don't know, Leela. I fully admit to you that I don't know. I confess it. But as a side note, I am gonna send you guys. Just hang on. I am gonna send you guys a list of competitions that you can enter. Poetry competitions.
One of those. Not one of my poems is in a book.
Yeah. Some of them are free and some of them have an entry fee to enter. But I'm going to send you several. I'm just going to put some links in an email and send them all to you at once so that you can have that opportunity. Anyway, back to, because some of y'all have written some really good stuff. And I'm learning that when you are challenged a little more, you rise to that and your poetry is better.
The structured ones are the ones that do it.
Yes. So I'm filing that away, just so you know.
Girls, so-
I am filing it away that you guys need a little bit of a challenge. You're doing great. You're doing great. Okay. With the top poem, I'm almost done. With the top poem, there is a little that he's going for something. He's got a deeper meaning that he's trying to give you in this one. The Lord of the Dance, the next one down, it just feels like a verbal puke. You know, he's just going blah. And it doesn't look like he's trying to communicate anything to me. He's just saying, let me show you the deepest, darkest parts of myself. It's like, I don't know, it's giving you the darkness inside of him without trying to give you anything, without trying to push you into, it might be traumatizing. Okay, so, yes, y'all got that? I'm moving away from that. All right, this is your last poetry assignment. All right, this one is going to be the last one, and then we're going to move into short stories. Did y'all say it's sad?
Yes.
Everybody likes poetry? Good. I like it too.
You should teach a poetry class. Sorry.
I have thought about it.
You ought to. I would enter it.
I have thought about it. I really like teaching poetry. I've never done the different time periods of literature before. I've never taught through that, so I've had to do a lot of learning myself. All right, so I'm going to give you some handouts. Did you say something to me? Okay. They're stapled because this is the longest poem that you will write. But before you hyperventilate,
It's like a real mouth.
it has a very strict pattern, like a villanelle. But this is a Pantoum, so it's a little bit different. I'm going to walk you through it, okay? I'm going to walk you through it.
Touch much.
Yes. All right. This is a Pantoum, and typically Y'all want to teach? Okay.
Okay.
Typically, it is written in iambic tetrameter. Iambic tetrameter. So, how many syllables is this going to be? 4 feet. It's 4 feet. How many syllables? Yeah. 8 syllables. Okay, so you can be a little bit loose with this. If you don't want to do 10 syllables, I mean, if you don't want to do 8, you can do 10. I mean, there's a little bit of a looseness here. Some people will actually write Pantoums that don't rhyme. This is not for you. This is not for you. This one needs to rhyme, okay? Because this is your last poetry assignment of this year, and I want you to have some good, strong rhymes to this. Do what?
I like poems.
I do too. Okay. Iambic tetrameter, or pentameter if you want. You can choose 8 or 10 syllables per line. A title. Give it a title.
Okay.
Give it a title. Give your poem a title.
Did you write this? Is this yours?
Did I write it? Yes.
Okay.
I wrote this for a friend of mine in the summer.
Aw. I know who
Abby
this
knows who this is. I have a friend who has had a long-term illness, and so this was just a prayer for her. I did write this for her. Okay. And I don't always tell y'all where stuff comes from, but that's where that one came from. All right. Line 1. Line 2. Line 3. Line 4. That's your first stanza, okay? You're gonna write your first stanza, and then you're gonna take line 2 and line 4, and this becomes line 2 becomes line 1 of the next stanza. And this becomes line 3 of the next stanza. I gave y'all that if you want to write on that, what I'm telling you, because you can see it on here. You can see that my 2 and 4 of the first stanza become 1 and 3 of the next stanza. You see it? Yeah. You're going to continue that through the whole poem. And so when I'm telling you to write a certain number of stanzas, really, you're not writing a complete stanza every time. So each time you start a new stanza, you're only writing 2 new lines. What is that noise? It sounds like a helicopter's landing on the roof. Okay, so line 2 and line 4, you're going to reuse it in the next stanza as line 1 and line 3. You're going to keep doing that until you get to your last stanza, okay? And still, when you get to your last stanza, you've got lines 2 and 4 becoming line 1 and 3. But then you're going to take lines 1 and 3 of the first stanza and put them into the last stanza. Okay, look at my last stanza. My first stanza, the first line, becomes my last line of my last stanza. All right? And the third line of my first stanza, I use it again in the last stanza as line 2. Right? Follow the example. If you have questions, I will be glad to talk to you about this through the week. This is a very strict pattern, but once you get to doing it, you'll figure it out and you'll kind of fall into it, and it'll not be a big deal. Rhyme scheme. You're going to use an A-B, right? So A-B. But because you're taking these lines down to here, you're gonna have B, C, B, C. You see what I'm doing? Okay. So you're using these same lines again. And then you're adding 2 more lines. You're adding 2 lines per stanza. You see what I'm doing? Yeah? Okay. And you can actually look up Pantoum and have somebody walk you through it in a video, or you can email me, or you can whatever you want to do about this. I'll happily talk to you about it because I like doing it. I like talking about this stuff. Okay, any questions here about this? No. All right, I'm gonna give you an assignment sheet, and then if y'all want, we'll do a few riddles. You want the riddles?
We don't want to know because you have no critical thinking skills, Abby. That's why.
Somebody take them.
Have you seen that Pantoum? Yes.
Some of these I think will be fairly easy. Thank you.
Say right now, I can do it.
Who are we missing? Daniel's not here.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you he's sick.
Oh,
He's had
sorry.
my mother.
Robert's
Our
not here.
entire house has been sick.
Sorry about that. So we're missing 2 guys.
What other kind of sonnet is there other than like a Shakespearean sonnet?
Petrarchan.
Is it bad?
Is it bad?
You seem to have a beef with anything other than Shakespeare.
No. No, I asked you to write, when we did sonnets, I asked you to write a Shakespearean sonnet because I wanted to be able to see your 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines, and then your couplet. I didn't want you to have to do a Petrarchan sonnet because a Petrarchan sonnet has 8 lines and then it has 6 lines. And the first 8 lines, you're talking about whatever the problem is. There's some sort of a problem. There's something that's sad. Usually it's something sad. And then you get finished with those 8 lines and you get to the next 6 and there's a turn and the author says, but, and then you get to the brighter side of whatever it is. Okay. It's a little bit more complicated in my mind. It's a little bit more complicated. And so I didn't want you to have to, I just wanted you to have to get the right number of lines and the right number of syllables. And we might do a Petrarchan sonnet next time. We might do that next time, but this time I wanted to see your rhyme patterns really clearly. I wanted you to be able to see each other's structure. Does that make sense? See what I'm saying? All right. Riddles. Are you ready? I don't think this one will take you long because I read it and I went, yeah, that's happened to me. Okay. This is called the empty wrapper. What?
Reading and hearing is different though.
True. It's true. You're right. You're right, because if you're reading something yourself, you're seeing the words and yeah, it's a different process. You're right. Okay, the empty wrapper. A woman was at the checkout lane of a supermarket. She removed several items from her cart and put them on the conveyor belt that led to the cashier. The cashier noted their prices and passed the items along to be bagged. A perfectly ordinary process, but one of the items entered and passed along was an empty wrapper. The cashier realized that the wrapper was empty, but charged for it anyway. Why?
She ate it already.
She didn't eat it, but, well,
did?
yeah, she had a kid with her.
Oh, boom. I'm a genius,
So,
guys.
I figured that would not be
That's what our mom used to. She would always
Yeah.
give us a box of
something to keep you
Cheez-Its.
still and quiet.
and just give us the box of
Keep my mouth
Cheez-Its.
full so we couldn't talk. That's what it was.
You.
I mean,
Ooh.
I give suckers to my elementary class when I read to them. I give them a sucker so that they'll be quiet. And sometimes it works. It doesn't always work. Sometimes they talk anyway. Next, this is called They Had a Ball. Yeah, I might need to separate y'all. You know each other too well. Two men stood on a softball field and practiced throwing and catching just before a game. Over here, shouted Ned, slapping his fist into his mitt. Ted threw the softball to him. Good catch, throw me a grounder, shouted Ted. Ned returned the ball by throwing it along the ground as requested. Now a high one, right here, right here. Ted threw the ball high in the air, and Ned ran about 10 feet to his left, reached up and caught the ball easily. Good arm, but your aim is a little crooked, he announced. No, it isn't, replied Ted. So what's wrong with throwing the high ball right to where I was standing, retorted Ned. What indeed?
The wind.
Wasn't the wind.
I don't know.
Why would he not throw a high ball right to him? Why would he make it move?
It was in the sun. Is what it
It
was.
wasn't in the sun. It wasn't just to make him run. It wasn't just for practice.
Big old anthill.
A big anthill. Not close. Well, it might or might not have been closer to the dugout. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter for this. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Does it matter?
Why was it to the left?
Why was it to the left? Irrelevant. Irrelevant.
His glove will be on his right hand. That would make life simple.
That doesn't. It doesn't matter for this. For this, it doesn't matter. Why would you? I'm gonna try to lead you a little bit in this. Coleman, if you're throwing a ball to somebody, you're not just trying to make them run. Would there be any reason why you don't want to throw a high ball to a certain spot? This person is going to have to jump or they're going to have to reach or something, right? It's a high ball. Is there any reason why you wouldn't throw it to a particular spot? Not a tree, but you're on the right track. It's not a roof. Somebody's in the way. Somebody's in the way. There's somebody back there behind. They're not paying attention to this game. What's going to happen if he misses? He's going to hit the person behind. Okay. Like I've told you before, there might be several answers to these riddles, but they're aiming for a particular one. So there's somebody in the background. There may be a little kid or something in the background. They're not watching. What's going to happen if this guy misses this high ball? It's going to hit the kid. So whoever's throwing it is aware of this, and they sent him 10 feet in a different direction on purpose. Because then if he misses it, nobody gets hurt. One more?
Yeah.
One more, and then you got another class. Ballpark befuddlement. 9 men stood together at the edge of a field. One of them watched a ball intently and swung at it. Missed. He took another swing. Whack. The ball sailed up and to the left. A third swing. Zoom. This ball soared up and directly forward, and the man was pleased. Why didn't anyone run to retrieve the third ball? It didn't go out of the park.
I don't understand.
Do you want me to read it again?
Yes.
9 men stood together at the edge of a field. One of them watched a ball intently and swung at it. Missed. He missed it. He took another swing. Whack. The ball sailed up and to the left. A third swing. Zoom. This ball soared up and directly forward, and the man was pleased. Why didn't anyone run to retrieve the third ball?
Because it was out of that.
It wasn't out of bounds.
Somebody caught it.
Nobody caught
He
it.
wouldn't be pleased.
He hit the third one. He didn't hit on the first swing. He hit the second one.
He tipped
And
it.
He hit it a foul bounce. Wait, what?
Foul bounce.
Foul,
That's what I just said.
foul ball. Oh my word! I'm restarted.
Okay, so
Holy.
he definitely was not pleased with
Oh,
the second swing. He hit it, but he's not pleased with it, okay?
Okay, foul ball.
Okay. Or out of bounds or whatever you want to call it. But the third, nobody went to get that one, but why was he pleased with this one and nobody went to get it? Say it again. You want a hint? Okay. Let me. There's some questions back here.
Oh, that meant I like this here.
Did they only have one ball?
They're playing golf.
They're playing golf.
Be so for real.
They're playing golf. They're playing golf. It's not baseball. So yes, they did have more than one ball. You were on the right track. And then when you said that, she went, it's not baseball. It's golf. Yeah, both of y'all were kind of on the same track. So there are nine men. This is what kind of threw you. 9 men stood on the edge of the field.
I was like, what kind of baseball are you playing?
Yeah, 9 men on the field. Well, that's automatically going to make you think baseball. But this is not baseball.
Well, why are they all lined up? If it was baseball, imagine my whole team.
It doesn't say they're lined up. It just says they're all on the edge of the field.
Why are they on the edge of the field?
Well, I mean, if you're watching golf, how many people are standing?
First off, why are you playing with 9 people? That's gonna take forever.
Why are you playing golf at all?
I
I don't know.
Over
Anybody likes golf?
60-year-old white man.
You like golf? You play golf? Okay. I have to confess to you, I've probably said this before. When I was in college, I went home with my best friend one weekend, and she and her dad would go out to the driving range. They would go out just for fun. I don't know why they did this for fun, but they would go out to the driving range and they would take some swings at this golf ball. And I was fairly athletic when I was your age. I was fairly athletic. I got out there to this driving range, okay, and I had the golf club in my hand. I'm lined up. I swung and swung and swung and swung. Never hit the thing. Never hit that ball. And finally, I just handed the club to my friend, and I said, "I'm done. I'm done." So I never got it. I never even hit it. Never touched it. But
So you still not play golf?
I played putt putt. That counts, right?
Somebody's a little fixed mindset. You fail one time.
Okay.
you try again.
Right, because I don't like it anyway. I mean, if you ask me to try some kind of food that I don't like, prickly squash, I cooked that one time. Not gonna do it again. It was too hard. It's too hard. I'm not gonna do it again.
Talk to my mother about that. She would prefer.
The prickly kind?
Yeah.
Oh.
She thinks if you don't like food, you should keep eating it until you do. Because eventually you will. Unless you're allergic
I
to
like
it.
squash, and I actually liked the taste of that. It was way too hard for me to do it all the time. Not gonna do it. And I'll bow up on your mom about that. I mean, I can handle it, I can. All right, you guys gotta go. Go to the next class. I'll see you again very soon.